What's going on, everyone? Welcome to a very special bonus episode of the LURED podcast. This is Ken Pescatore. Today is Friday, March 1st, 2019, and today we have special guests coming to this episode. Jonno Plays is on the show. Jonno, introduce yourself, man. How are you?
What's up, you guys? It's Jonno!
I'm really happy you came on. This is a heated topic right now. Your name at large. So before we started recording, I told you I want to keep everything full disclosure, completely transparent. You know, I'll put it out there, man. I've been hypercritical of you in the past. And the fact that I wanted to bring you on the show so that way you would have a platform that you can talk to potentially a different community of people or people that might not see you in the light that your community does. So I wanted to make sure that you had that provided to you. And I think that the podcast community, it's a good opportunity for you to get in front of some new ears. So let's get into it real quick here. Give me the history of your channel. I want to talk about how your channel started and how it ended up transitioning to a spoofing-based channel, which pretty much brought your name in the front of a lot of different trainers.
Well, just real quickly, I want to say it's fair enough that you've criticized me. I am deserving of plenty of criticism, as I'm sure everybody would agree. You know, it's like all the facts are out there when you're a YouTuber and you have a major channel. All the facts are out there. Everybody knows all the facts most of the time. And it's like, people deserve criticism for the things that deserve criticism. I mean, that's just fair, I think. I don't consider you like a hater because you criticize me or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, it's fair, you know, that's
good because I talked a ton of shit.
Yeah, I mean, it's fine. I mean, people, you probably were a hater. Maybe I would be mad if I had actually seen any of it, you know, but I mean, it's like, you probably made valid points, I'm sure, you know what I mean? Like, and it's not like I don't have any valid points either. I wish that there was a little bit more, you know, common ground between everybody. So I think that this is a great opportunity to create that common ground through a rational conversation, which has literally never happened. So, you know, like, good on you, my dude, good on you. And I think that, you know,
so tell me about the channel, man. Tell me about how it started and when did it really get serious with Pokemon Go as far as, you know, you getting on a consistent release schedule and, you know, starting to really drive, and then you see the transition of being an organic player because your road to 40 was completely organic, correct?
Yeah, completely. And even long after 40, I was completely organic.
Okay, so the transition from being that level 40 trainer, completely organic, to starting to dabble into the spoofing world, what kind of was the catalyst to that transition? And when you did that, how did it affect your user base?
That's a funny one because I knew how to spoof my location on my phone using the app that I used to spoof in Pokemon GO before Pokemon GO came out because I got really deep into Snapchat, and Snapchat has a couple of badges that you could unlock by going to a place that's over a certain temperature and going to a place that's under a certain temperature. So I had Googled, how do you do this? And changing your location is just a developer option. So it's something that developers need to be able to test their apps. So it's funny how all this spoofing stuff has basically made developers kind of take away this feature, but as developers, they are the ones who need the feature. So it's kind of ironic how this has hurt development in the long run, but I'm sure that they've got ways around it. It's probably fine, right? But some of those development features are the ways that people are spoofing now too, which is ironic. So they really can't stop this at a certain level because it's needed for development. I had so many people watching my channel, and all of the organic YouTubers had this at that time. There were people who couldn't play the game in rural areas that had started spoofing that probably wouldn't have spoofed in the first place, but they did, and there was a lot of them, and they're watching all of our channel and getting all of the info from our content. So organic players had a large spoofing fan base before they started all the spoof hate, and then all the spoofers started to move to some channels and all the organics started to move to other channels, and everybody kind of split off, which hurt views for the Pokemon community in the long run, and it hurt the Pokemon community in the long run because if YouTubers can't get views, then they won't put as much time into it, and they don't have fun because YouTubers love getting views. And we were all having a great time in 2016 when we were getting like millions of views, and then you can see everybody gets kind of sour in 2017 because we can't get as good of views. But 2018 has been even worse. The views on Pokemon are just tanking in a lot of ways, but some people are still doing great. Like, I gotta shout out AK. He's still doing great for the size of his channel to get as many views as he gets. He has great information, And he's largely avoided this whole conversation, largely avoided it. So he has people who spoof who watch his channel and they don't care because they watch him. Now, somebody who didn't handle that, in my opinion, very well, aside from myself and all the other major YouTubers, but smaller channels that didn't handle it well, Prodigies. Prodigies had a lot of spoofers watching his channel who didn't care because he never dropped shade. And then he started dropping a lot of shade after he hung out with some of the bigger YouTubers. And that's when I left, and I was a member of his channel. I had him on membership. I would donate all the time. But a lot of people left when he started dropping a lot of shade. But that's what I noticed for all the big channels as well. The more shade they dropped, the more people would get frustrated and leave. And that's why I started. I was a fan of all the big channels, huge fan, because I was nobody. I mean, I was just watching them like a fan. And once they started all the hate, I was like, all right, I got to bounce, guys. Because there was just no respect for the fact that some people can't even play. And I'm like, do you guys just ignore that? Like, these people are in rural areas and have no assets. What are they supposed to do?
You know, that's an interesting point, because my wife, Melissa, who's a co-host on the Lured Up podcast, she's always had this little tinge of sympathy when it comes to the spoofing community for players that are in those spoofer you really can't play at all. And, you know, I've always busted her chops and said, look, if you can't play the game, you can't play the game. But I understand
insane,
the position.
Though. I mean, it's Pokemon.
I know.
It's a massive worldwide brand since 1996. It's crazy to say you can't play the game. Like, Pokemon players won't accept that. You know that.
I believe that's why she has that perspective of, hey, man, you know, if you got to play, you got to play the fucking game.
Well, here's where it came from for me, because I kind of flowed in her boat, but then it came from a way deeper place for me, because I'm all about the kids. I've always been all about the kids, and my channel only had kid viewers when I played Clash of Clans. So I don't think that there was any adults watching me. And my demographics I've always watched my demographics, and it was always kids below 18. And then when I went to Pokemon Go, it just started notching higher and higher and higher. And now my demographics are way higher because kids don't play Pokemon Go. But, back when I had only kids, I would only think about the kids. I'm all about the kids. And my big thing was always the kids who are terminally ill in the hospital. They're going to spend the rest of their life in the hospital, stuck in a bed, and the only thing they want to do is play Pokemon Go. Pokemon Go came out. What makes them feel normal is doing what all the other kids do. And the only thing that was popular for that time period was playing Pokemon Go. And once again, the kids who are disabled or have, you know, any kind of issues that prevent them from playing the game, they can't play. So I had always advocated that there should be a drone, like a Mobi from Pokemon Quest, and the drone would give you a limited walk range. So at least if there was a Pokestop near the hospital, you could get it, and a couple of Pokespawns near the hospital, you could get it. And a drone is completely within the Pokemon story. There's other Pokemon games with drones. So, and it wouldn't break the game either, because those people can't even play. They have nothing near enough to them. But like my house, I could reach a triple stop and like 15 Pokemon spawns a block away. And at midnight, I won't go that block because it's too dangerous. But it would get me a lot of gameplay from home if I had a feature like that. And it would give some people the only gameplay that they can get whatsoever to have a feature like that. But I realized after about a year of advocating for those people that Niantic did not care about that group of people. But then after 2 years, I realized they don't care about anybody. They're not going to fix this issue. They're not putting Pokestops anywhere. They're just not going to do it. So that was part of my impetus to start spoofing, because my game was broken in some ways, but not really that bad. But I was being a little bit too picky because I had been able to play in San Francisco. So I'm like, look, if you have this gameplay over here, my city's pretty good, but it's not San Francisco good. So I started spoofing over to San Francisco rather than driving there, which is what I had been doing in the past, which is a lot of money and gas. But I was complaining so much about how much I spent to go to GoFest. I was complaining so much about how much I spent on gas and all the different things that I was spending for the game. And people just kept responding, why don't you spoof? Why don't you spoof? You're an idiot. Why don't you spoof? And I eventually just listened to them, and I was like, I am wasting so much money. Why don't I spoof? You know? But the very first time I ever spoofed, all right? So that was kind of like where I was starting to become okay with spoofing, and my mental cycle to be like, maybe I'll spoof, you know? And I had so many people on my video comments saying, you should just spoof, like, you're an idiot, what are you doing, you know? You're complaining, and spoofing would fix all those problems. But then the thing that actually made me spoof, all right, I'll do story time again. This is a really good story. My Bay Area friends are super hardcore players. When I met them, I realized there was more people like me. They're like team leaders they're team raid leaders. Like they manage Discords with like thousands of people in the Bay Area. They're like huge team leaders. And they've stayed friends with me through all the drama because they know I'm a really good guy. They know me in person. They can just vouch for my character. They just know that I'm actually a good guy, and like no matter if I spoof or not, they're friends with me, And plus a lot of the people, well, I won't say too much, but I know people who are really hardcore who have started spoofing, and we're all good friends, and nobody wants to stop being friends just because somebody started spoofing it. And we all play hardcore and we don't judge each other. All right. So during the whole bad time period, we were still friends, but before I started spoofing, I'd never spoofed in the game before. We all went to the event in LA that had unknowns. Do you remember that? It was like the first event that was in LA that had unknowns spawning, and we had heard about it and immediately got in a van and all drove down there. Immediately hunted all night long. One of our friends is like super rich, and he did the same thing in his own car and got a hotel. And at like 3 a.m. we went to his hotel, crashed on the floor for like 3 hours, and then woke up and was like peace, and went back out and hunted for more unknowns, because that was the real heyday of scanners. And the person who ran our scanner in the Bay Area, as well as another person who ran a different scanner in the Bay Area, as well as another person who ran a different scanner in LA, had all created specific event rooms in their Discords for that area of LA, the whole area that was spawning. So we were getting 100 IV unknowns, and at that point in time, that was like insane. Like people were freaking out. So we were actually driving down to the event, and we were still in the Grapevine. Our rich friend who had already gotten there he got there way before us, and he was already catching the unknowns, and he was actually at the 100 IV unknown, and we were still an hour and a half away. And he caught it for all of my friends in the car. So they were all like, yes, I have it. Because they basically catch for each other. It's a little known thing called a catch ring, where everybody lives in different areas and we all have scanners. So rather than rather than 6 people driving to a spawn, everybody has their account info, and then one person drives to the spawn and catches it for everybody. That's a pretty common playing technique, but it's really not discussed. And anyway, it's something that's not that much discussed because those people want to be able to play that way. And so I've kept that info off my channel. It's the first time I've ever actually talked about it, but it's okay. It's not really that big of a deal. They're not at risk of getting banned or anything, so it's not that big of a deal. But they asked me not to talk about it, and out of respect, I have not talked about it. But some people do play that way, and it's really not that big of a deal. But so they all had the 100 IV unknown, and I'm sitting there in the van like, dang, I wish I could get that 100 IV unknown. And I had that app on my phone that could change my location, so I was like, you know what, YOLO, I'm going to try and go to where the unknown is. Because I was in the Discord rooms, I knew the coords for the unknown, and we would use coords as organic players to drive to the location. And actually, the guys who were there on the ground said that there were so many people at that spawn, hundreds of people took over that entire neighborhood, and the police had to come and clear the neighborhood because of that 100 IV unknown. It was insane. All right, and we had pictures. Like, I saw the pictures, and it was like mobs of people in people's yards. Like, it was nuts. And the police had to come clear it. So that was kind of a big deal. Anyway, I was able to spoof to the unknown and catch it. And it was funny to see everybody in the car, like organic players, freaking out that it actually worked, that I did it and it actually worked and I got the unknown. So I caught it, and they were expecting it to run, and I was expecting it to run. And then when the ball shook the third time and I caught it, I was like, are you kidding me? And we were just like screaming. We were like, oh my God, like nobody could believe it actually worked. So that was the first time I ever spoofed. I spoofed for 100 IV unknown. And then for the longest time, I lied on my channel and I said that a friend caught it for me. And
oh shit.
Yeah. So anyway, Jonno exposed. At that time, I just, it was really like, I wasn't a spoofer, and even though I didn't care that much, I secretly did, and I was like, that's not me. But then I was just so jaded for all those reasons, that I mentioned, and I really had support for people who had to spoof because they had no other option. And what got it for me was, if it's fair for them, then it's fair for everybody, like if I can justify it for them, I can justify it for myself. So it was really like a little tiny snowflake of spoofing that snowballed into me starting a spoof channel, like it was honestly crazy. But the reason that I really took it over on my channel was because the views were insane. If I honestly still should be spoofing right now, if I only cared about money, I would be spoofing right now, and I would just let my account get deleted every time they feel like deleting it, and I would just keep on spoofing, and I would get all the views that Lifting in Zombies is get. I would get all the views that, all these other YouTubers are getting. But it's the same thing with FSU ATL. It's just not something that is like long term. You'll find something more important to do than spoofing Pokemon Go, And I've noticed that the lifespan of a lot of spoofers is short. Some of my most hardcore spoofer friends just put the game down one day and went back to GTA 5. I'm like, are you kidding me? You're playing GTA 5 like a 3-year-old game right now instead of Pokemon? And they're just like, I just didn't care anymore,
But because of all the spoofing, I mean, that's really what snowballed into the beef with the other YouTubers. And that's really what I want to get into. And that's really what my community would really want to hear, because I believe that topic, that kind of umbrella of, uncertainty of what the hell was actually going on online, because we would only see it in bits and pieces. We would only see tweets. We would only see, call outs and videos or things here and there. But it probably all stemmed because of a difference in belief of how to play a game.
That's not true. So that's where the history comes in that most people don't know. So that you would think that that's true, right? That's the obvious way to frame all this, right? But that doesn't account for the history specifically between Mystic7 and FSU ATL. Now, are you familiar with their history?
Yes, but give me the elevator speech.
All right, so they used to be friends in the Clash of Clans days. FSU ATL was the clan leader. Mystic7 was a co-leader. And, they had differences or whatever. And they ended up with a real beef long before Pokemon GO ever existed, right? So for whatever reason, that beef has continued a really long time, to the point where it's funny. I wonder if they do it on I wondered for a long time if they did it on purpose just to get views up, or I don't know, because it's like they clearly know each other and have each other's phone numbers and can hit each other up whenever. I'm sure they're not on like block status, So it's like, who knows? Maybe, right? That was me as a fan just kind of speculating. That was years ago, right? But then I don't know if it was on purpose or not on purpose, but Mystic7 went organic and FSU ATL went spoofer. And I really truly believe that the whole way to play the game thing is not an emotional situation. Nobody really has an emotional commitment to the way that you play Pokemon Go. But their beef is an emotional situation for them. So I think that the spoofing and the organic rift really starts from the fact that those two have personal beef. And that really started to divide the community, because obviously they're willing to be so vocal about it, but it's very childish to be so vocal about it. If they could go back, I bet they wouldn't, because they lost a lot of views due to the way that they, talked about that conversation, especially Mystic7. I think that organic people are fine with watching FSU because they want to get the latest info, but spoofers won't watch Mystic7. And that's why a lot of Mystic7 videos, he would say things that were sympathetic to spoofers in some videos, and then he would say things that were unsympathetic in other videos. And I think it's because he realized that he would lose audience if he didn't say at least something sympathetic. And it kind of makes him look like a sellout, not to say, I got your back, rural players. I'm going to call my people at Niantic and get them to fix this stuff, He's basically saying, you guys are jerks for spoofing and don't play the game, which I don't agree with that personally. I think that everybody should have a fair chance to play the game.
But how the hell did this snowball, this personal beef between Mystic7 and FSU ATL turn into this, you having your own thing going on your channel with your community, but building you kind of had this persona on the organic side that was super toxic, and everyone, your name was synonymous with just like bullshit. How did their beef kind of snowball it into you being into this spoofing conversation or this spoofing kind of debate with the other tubers? I mean, how did all the other tubers get involved? Like the beef would reversal. Like what? How the hell?
So
how do you connect the dots?
There was one moment that answers that question. All right, GoFest 2017. I'm at GoFest, And I had been watching FSU just a little bit, and he was very nice to me in the chat. He would always read my comments and things like that. He's just very respectful. He's a really respectful guy. And he was nice to me, right? And he saw that my channel was coming up, and he knew about me, like a lot of the other YouTubers knew about me. And I got shoutouts from Mystic7. I got shoutouts from Reversal. All those guys mentioned me positively in videos in the early days. And FSU was just the same. So he was nice to me. I would watch his stream to get the most latest info. Like, I just really wanted to get the best, latest info of people who were out there playing, and he was live a lot of times when that stuff would happen. So he got a lot of views just from doing that from organic players like me. So I was aware of him. I was a fan, and I knew that he was going to spoof to Go Fest, but he didn't have a ticket and he had no way to get a QR code. So I was like, hey, I got you. Like, I'll send you a QR code, just DM me and I'll do everything I can to get you one on the day of the event. So I was live waiting in the line for the event, got a lot of views. He was live, spoofing at the event with no QR code, had a lot of views. And he was busy pretty much that whole day with doing live streams and studying. And I got into the event midday, and basically I got my QR code handed to me from the staff at the entrance of the line. And then I realized very quickly that all I would have to do is ask for another one, and they would probably give me another one. So I asked for another one, and then I took a picture of it and sent it to him on Snapchat, and he was good to go. He could play the event. Ironically, he didn't open that snap because he thought I was fake. He thought I was totally not going to get him one. So he didn't even open it until hours later. And that was the biggest stream that he ever had on his channel, ever. And he could have had so many more views if he would have just opened the stupid snap. But he's got school, he's got important stuff to do. So he was studying and he just didn't open it. I didn't mind that he made it public. He was like, I'm not going to tell anyone you gave this to me because it'll ruin your reputation. And I really didn't take him seriously when he said that. And I was like, no, man, tell him. Who cares? What about, I'll just get the notoriety or whatever. Like, I'm the guy who plugged the QR code. And right after it became public that I had done it, Mystic7 DM'd me and started saying that, I'm going to take the L on my Pokemon GO career, and this is the stupidest thing I ever did. And at that time, I still worked at the radio, so I was like, dude, this isn't a career. I'm just playing this game, and I happen to have a YouTube channel because I like doing the YouTube channel because, I'm just a technically savvy guy, and putting my videos online is just something I was already kind of used to doing. And anyway, I was just like, this isn't a career. Don't even worry about it. What's your problem? And he was really toxic to me in DMs. So I posted his DMs publicly, which I guess he thought I wouldn't do. And I'm just like, quit bullying me in DMs, bro. I don't care what you think about me giving the QR code to FSU ATL. So I tweeted his DMs, and he got really mad about it and just started firing off at me in the DMs, which I still have all of them. And when I go back and read them, I was pretty immature too, and I felt like in the moment I was giving him a chance to back down and not have a big altercation with me. But when I go back and read the DMs, I was really triggered by him too, and I wasn't really being rational either. I was really not. So even though in the moment I was mad and I felt like I was, when I go back, I realized I was just mad, and he was probably mad too. So we didn't have a great discussion. That's about the time that Reversal did the tweet longer. He was really mad about that I had given the thing. So both of them jumped into the beef with me over the QR code. But then as soon as Mystic7 went on stage and had the bottle thrown at him in Go Fest, and then they tried to bring Mystic7 back on stage through a live digital feed because I think for his safety, they didn't want people throwing more stuff at him. But then the live digital feed failed while he was talking, and everybody just laughed and booed at him. So that was horrible. And then he never came on stage again for the rest of the event. Only official Niantic Exposed people came on stage for the rest of the event. And they basically announced that they were going to give us $100 in Pokecoins as a refund for our event ticket. And I told myself right then and there, as soon as I get home, I'm contacting a class action lawsuit lawyer and I'm suing these people because this is the biggest shit show I have ever seen in my life. And it's completely unacceptable that I spent $2,000 to get here and they're literally kicking us out of the event space and telling us leave. And there was a bigger line to get out of the event than there was to get into the event. And that is saying a lot because the line to get into the event was hours. And I actually didn't wait in the line to get out of the event. I just stayed trying to play the event because before Pokemon Go Fest even happened, I went to the event space, which is what Niantic should have done, and I tested the signal, and I knew that there was absolutely no signal. But that was T-Mobile. So I went to a Verizon store the day before, and I bought myself a Verizon plan and a Verizon hotspot. Now, I'm telling you, I'm a really hardcore trainer. This is how I think, and I'm also very technically savvy, so I knew if I can't get data, I can't play the event, there's going to be a lot of people in the park. I won't be able to get data because it's just like Disneyland. I had been to Disneyland and had no signal. So I knew if you get that many people hitting the towers at one time, it won't work. So I went and got a Verizon hotspot. Now, that was actually the best move I ever made because I was able to hotspot me and various people that I met at Pokemon Go Fest. And some of us caught like 1 or 2 unknowns because my hotspot would eventually get you logged in. And eventually the unknown would spawn and you could throw a ball at it and it would sit there and do the white circle and spin. And eventually when the game finally crashed and you came back in, you might have the unknown because they have an extremely high catch rate on Pokeball. So that was the experience for most of the day, and my Verizon pretty much saved me. So I guess plug to Verizon, which I still have to pay for that because they put me on like a freaking 2-year contract or some shit. So I'm still paying for that damn hotspot. And I never use it, and it's just like the cost of GoFest 2017 never stop adding up, But that's why I was like, I'm gonna sue these people. This is Firefest. And literally, I told the lawyer. I called 2 lawyers, and the one that called me back first was the one who got it. And I secretly wish I would have gone with the other lawyer now, all this time later, just because of I think he might have been more organized. But whatever, they settled it almost immediately. We knew they were going to settle it because it was such an obvious, slam dunk case, which is why the lawyers called me back so fast. And full disclosure on the lawsuit, I got a $5,000 class representative award for being the class representative, but Niantic was actually so mad that I had given away the QR code that their lawyers spent most of the time negotiating to make me not be the class representative because they didn't want to give me $5,000. So the lawyer told me this is actually somewhat common because they specifically said they find it distasteful that I would be the class representative when I spoofed the game and I did what I did or whatever. So the lawyer that I went with, his lawyer friend up basically down the office from him actually went to GoFest with his son, so they changed him to the class representative. But it was all in paperwork that I would still get the class representative award, and the judge had to sign all that off, which is because I was like, this is weird. Am I about to get screwed? But the judge had to sign
I didn't know any of that back
Nobody
end
knows
shit,
this stuff.
That's very
I've
interesting.
literally never said this stuff publicly, all right? So you're getting really exclusive stuff here. But the fact is, like I said, nobody ever asked me, and they were organized enough to get the answer from me. And while the case was going on, I did not discuss it, which is ironic because everyone that is an official representative for Niantic, like Mystic7 Reversal, they all discuss the case openly. And I'm like, your parent company hasn't said a word about this. I'm not saying a word about this. It's open, litigation or whatever you want to call it. Why are you guys talking about this? And I even DM'd Mystic7 and I was like, because he was talking about it publicly. So Mystic7 DMs me. We have a beef that's going publicly. And a few days later, I announced that I'm suing Pokemon Go. And he DMs me again and he's like, bro, what are you doing? Our beef is you don't have to sue my company, blah. And I was like, dude, this has nothing to do with you. I already knew I was going to sue them a long time ago, and I've been making these steps in the background while you've been beefing with me, and it literally has nothing. But he's so obsessed with himself that he thinks I sued the company because of him. That's how self-obsessed he is. But he's young, he's very young. I'm an adult. I've worked in the media industry. I've managed national radio assets. I know how to handle myself in public, and he's just talking about all this stuff, and he's extremely emotional and mad at me. But the fact is, I was pretty emotional at that time too, and I was mad at him because he's so big that it got under my skin that he was bullying me. And I'm like, how are you going to punch down? You're a huge channel, and you're going to punch down at a smaller channel, and it's over a video game. So it was really strange to me. But again, I think it comes back to the fact that he had the beef with FSU, and then I went to be friends with FSU, and he extended that beef to me, which is a common bullying tactic where you basically anybody who's friends with your bully, you bully them too. And anybody who's friends with you or anybody who's friends with the bully has to bully those people to be friends with the bully. And that's what we've seen happen with the other YouTubers. So,
but was this really bullying, or was this just...
I used to work for about a year as an office manager for this bullying prevention company. And all they did was service bullying prevention stuff for little kids. And what they would do is actually find... It's like a presentation that they would do in the auditorium, but they would actually bring up kids who had been bullied and bring up the bully and walk them through some steps, and they would literally be like best friends at the end. And the stuff would have you in tears. Like, I could not go to one of their things without just bawling. I mean, it's so beautiful to watch these kids be able to go from having bad habits to having great habits, and the school climate would just be so good. The grades would be so good. I mean, it's just amazing to see the work that they did. So yeah, it's definitely bullying. It's 100% bullying. But I don't blame them for it because they, Mystic7 went to American schools. American schools are notorious for bullying. There's people who get bullied by their families. There's parental bullying. There's sibling bullying. Most people don't even know what bullying is, and it's just really, really bad behavior. And the only reason that people bully is because they don't know better behavior. So that's why I don't blame them. And I want to get to a point where we can both apologize to each other, because a real sincere apology from both sides is the only way that anybody can move forward. But the fact is, I don't want to be friends with them, and I don't think that they have good character as friends. So it's hard for me to want to move forward with them.
Fast forward 2 years, right? So fast forward to where we are now. And the beef online has been suppressed for some time. It wasn't as vocalized as it had been in the past.
I've been trying to ignore it and make it go away, which is what I did in the beginning and didn't work. And that's why I got so vocal. So, because I wanted to have my side of the story be represented, because I was just ignoring it. But now I'm kind of back to, I need to ignore this. But then I made a couple videos recently that don't really ignore it. So yeah, I'm kind of bad right now.
No, but okay, look. So this kind of it was very timely that we had John this week, because Reversal puts out a tweet last week. I'm going to pull it up here. And it says, "Dear Jonno Plays, let's bury the hatchet permanently. I'll completely drop my grudges from this point forward, but only if you stop trash talking me and disable the @John Pokemon Go account you've been tweeting from.
Yeah.
Let's finally put an end to this for the community."
So
Thumbs
what
up.
he's doing is acting like a good guy while actually being a really bad guy, because I didn't create that account. And there's no way that I have anything to do with that account. The name John was my father's name, and he unfortunately died of a heart attack, and the name's extremely emotional to me. So there's no way I would ever make a troll account with that name to go troll people. It's just, it makes no sense. And I'm actually convinced that he made that account. So the irony that he's accusing me of creating the account in the tweet while saying, "I want to bury the hatchet with you," just proves that he's not really trying to bury the hatchet. He's trying to get some kind of moral high ground while accusing me of doing something that I didn't do. So it's really a bogus tweet. That's why I blocked him after that, because I'm like, you got to stop using my name, bro. Just forget about me. Like, he literally can't forget about me.
And how does Pope Dave fit into this mix?
Reversal and Poke Dave don't fit into this mix. They're trying to put their name into this beef just to get views or whatever. But I made the video about about Mystic7 and Trainer Tips channel getting deleted. That's the video I was talking about a second ago. I'm bad. I shouldn't have made that video, but I did it anyway, okay? But I don't know them any favors, and I do think that they're sellouts. So I'm like, look, I'm going to roast you guys, okay? Today's the day that you get roasted. All right. So Reversal has nothing to do with that. He literally has nothing to do with that. So I think he created that fake account to try to get his name into the mix by asking me to delete the account. And that is basically a PR strategy for him. He finds this drama to be something that he can grow from.
Oh man, dude. I need a tinfoil hat for this shit. But look, it's this is where I kind of want to wrap things up, and it's an incredible story. I mean, the story of how your channel started organic, it shifted to spoofing. GoFest 2017 was a disaster. The lawsuit, how that turned into an ongoing beef that went for years. The whole QR code thing, like, it's crazy that this conversation has kind of gone this long, but really been there's a lot of misinformation out there. That's and there's true. Just so much, so many different, like, exceptionally passionate people on both sides of the conversation. And I think that's what makes this so explosive, and which is one of the main reasons I wanted you to come on. But in closing here, how would you like to see the communities kind of pan out? How do you want, like, I saw that you blocked reversal. Is this a matter of just close the door in opposite directions and don't look the other way? Or would you want to see some kind of bridge, if not with the YouTubers, with that side of the community?
It wouldn't be reversal. I think he has issues, and I don't think that he's friend material for me. So that's why I blocked him. He's just tweeting me and trying to continue to put his name into this thing. So that's why I blocked him, so he just won't tweet me because I don't want to see it. I'm friends with a ton of organic Pokemon Go players in the YouTube community. Omnisec, Teddy Bear Family, H2 King. Like, the only people that beef are big YouTubers and people who are trying to be friends with those big YouTubers. Like Pokegirl7 is officially a hater of me and she DM'd me and basically told me she's trying to be friends with those bigger YouTubers and she can't really talk to me publicly anymore. And I'm like, girl, I respect it. Go get your money. Go grow your brand. I'm not going to be good for your brand. Go get it, girl. I'm fine with that. But it's like, just stop saying my name. They all say very negative things about me very freely. And I don't really talk about them that much, although my audience does a lot. And then, like I made the video about Mystic7 and Trainer tips. Like, I can't say I don't talk about them, but mostly what I'm trying to do going forward is just not talk about them. And hopefully they'll be respectful and not talk about me. And like, we just won't be friends. But there's a ton of people that I am friends with, and I have extremely valuable friendships that I've made through Pokemon Go. And most of them are offline. They have nothing to do with my online persona, and those people don't even watch my channel, and actually all the people, a lot of the people I'm friends with, they watch Mystic7, they watch Trainer Tips, they watch Reversal, and it's like, it's not that big of a deal. Those guys are really good editors, those guys are massively good editors. That's why I used to watch their channels. So it's like, I understand why people watch them. It's very entertaining content. I understand why they have a lot of subs. It's extremely entertaining content, but at this point, based on the way that we've interacted, I don't want to be friends with any of those people, and I don't see that they want to be friends with me. So it's not like, I think the beef will go away when we all just quit talking about each other,
So that being said, you don't necessarily want to be friends. I get that part of it, but do you feel any responsibility over the community? So if your community is behaving and reacting and acting a certain way with the communities of Reversal or the communities of Mystic7, and do you feel responsibility over your community? Because I see sometimes this level of high toxic,
I want us to stop talking, I want me to stop talking about them and them to stop talking about me, because what ends up happening is this flood of toxicity goes into the community and everybody participates in that beef. And what it's really doing is destroying Pokemon Go from a view standpoint as well as from a community standpoint. And the divisiveness, I've heard of people having fist fights at EX raids and things like that, and I've had people literally threaten my life. I know the big YouTubers have had people threaten their life. I've had people in my local town threaten my life who I know live close enough to me to actually be dangerous. So yeah, it's something that I hope definitely dies down, and I hope that there's not much talk of it that happens, and hopefully it doesn't become problematic for anybody else in the future.
All right, man. Well, thanks so much again for coming on. I think that you got a lot of good points across, and I think that we definitely learned a lot on this show. I definitely, the amount of information I took in based on the back end of the lawsuit and all that stuff, I had no idea. So it's very interesting to hear that stuff. So yeah. Email us, info@luredup.com. Let me know what you guys think of this. Let me know what your feelings are. Does this change the way you feel about anything? Does this change the way you feel about spoofing? Does it change the way you feel about, Jonno at large? Let me know. I want to hear about it. And thanks again for coming on, man. Where can my community and the people hearing this find you? I'm
at my YouTube channel most days. I was actually editing before I did this, and I'm going to go right back to editing. And just so you guys know, I did 100% quit spoofing for fair gameplay reasons. I thought the game was broken in 2017, but I actually talk a lot on my channel about how fixed it is now. and I love the gameplay as an organic player, aside from some events that I complain vocally about on Twitter. But my YouTube is actually very, very positive, and I don't do anything negative on my YouTube usually. But if there's a really bad event, I might complain about it. My live streams, I complain a little bit, but
that Trainer Tips Mystic7 video ruffled a ton of fucking feathers,
That's why I was like, usually, because I'm like, well, that one is kind of an exception. That was really clickbait. Man. It was total clickbait. I knew it would get clicks, but also I don't know them any favors, and I still have a lot of anger over that situation, so it kind of spilled out in my video too. But yeah.
But I'm going to link to everywhere you can find Jonno. Definitely check him out. And, let's talk about it. Let's, as a community, be civil about things, talk about it, and get the conversation going without, attacking anyone, because, why not? Again, I've said this on my channel before. We're not talking about doing your fucking taxes here. We're talking about a video game. We're talking about Pokemon. I understand that people are super passionate about it. I wake up every morning and live this game the entire time I'm awake.
Yeah, same.
So I'm super passionate about it. But that being said, I understand how that passion can kind of really turn toxic, for better or for worse. And, let's just try to avoid that and keep the conversation going. I sound like the end of a Jerry Springer show. But, let's talk about it, and let's get a conversation going. Let's bridge the gap a little bit. So, Jonno, thank you so much again for coming on. And until next time, everyone, take care.
Thanks for having me.